Hello, welcome to yet again another episode of the Business Roundup. I'm Maureen Babidie. Let's get into the highlights. The Parliamentary Committee on National Economy declines approval of additional 7.6% insurance premium Sinojo. Tanzania makes heavy investments in infrastructure to boost trade. World Bank has released the 24th edition of the Uganda Economic Update. Stay tuned, it's time for business. The Parliamentary Committee on National Economy has declined to approve the additional request of 7.6% insurance premium Sinojo on the loan amount 178.276 million euros for electrification of industrial parks and free trade zones projects.
State Minister for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, and the State Minister for Energy, Okasai Opolot Sindronius, appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on National Economy to seek approval for an additional 7.06% insurance premium to Sinosure on the loan for the Industrial Parks Electrification Project. The initial loan of 178.276 euros was approved in 2020 and took 5 years before a request for Sinosure insurance was submitted.
Request the committee to note the required additional insurance premium rate of 7.06% of the loan amount to be provided by CEXIM to finance the development of industrial parks, power supply to industrial parks, and the power transmission line extension.
Requested the Attorney General to clear this agreement for signature. And when he did go through the agreement, he found a number of things that he thought were unfavorable. So for the last 3-4 years, we've been discussing with China Exim Bank in an attempt to try to remove some of those unfavorable issues in these financing agreements. We did receive communication from Sinosure that we are required to pay insurance fees. Somehow we had not, and that communication came around July last year. So on further cross-examining the financing agreement on the conditions of effectiveness, we actually realized that we are required to pay these Sinosure fees, which is...
Committee Chairperson Ikojo John Bosco stated that they will not approve the additional borrowing before inspecting the industrial parks to assess progress on the ground.
We are not approving this borrowing here, and we shall have to inspect, go to industrial park, like the other loans which you have considered. This one shall not proceed unless we have another interaction with energy.
Members of Parliament reacted to the request for an additional insurance premium, with some expressing concern over Sinosure, emphasizing that loans are often approved, yet there is little impact on the ground.
In the other Sinosure, we felt someone is creating an excuse in order to siphon money from government. This one here, because we don't have an explanation whereby after 5 years, a person says we forgot insurance.
And the interest as well is part of the cost of the loan. Why is it that we go to an extent of even insuring? We insure even interest that was supposed to pay the interest of the loan. I really don't understand.
Insurance is a novelty which as government we should have started a long time ago when we enter into borrowing schemes. Because then it assures the lender that his resources will be paid back.
Some MPs expressed disappointment, arguing that while enough power is being generated, many constituencies still lack electricity.
It's high time that if a loan is secured, as we should see something being implemented. You are rushing with us for 1 hour and we approve. But don't you think we represent the people who need an answer from us?
When we move across the country, even some projects are shorted. They are not durable in line with the amount being borrowed. The time
we have a
a task to deliver power to the industrial parks. And Minister of Finance is assisting us to get the money. So let's get the approval of this money, and then the electricity access scale up. I will come and provide you the details.
Some members sought clarification on the criteria used to select the establishment of industrial parks.
In the distribution of these industrial parks, all these are located almost in the same area. What is the criteria for selection?
Number one is that all the 18 sub-regions in the country should at least have an industrial park. But for this condition to stand, the districts or the local governments in these sub-regions must be willing to provide free land.
Upon reviewing the loan documents, committee members identified discrepancies in the lender's name, with some documents listing China Exim Bank, while others mentioned the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China.
The minute extract is talking about industrial, and then in the resolution of Parliament is talking about Exim Bank.
The financing from Industrial and Commercial Bank of China didn't materialize. So we got an offer from China Exim Bank to take on this project. So when we came to Parliament, we presented financing for China Exim Bank, and that is what was approved.
So which means
the committee resolved to suspend the loan approval, giving parties time to reconcile their information. I'm Nafka Farid and Gloria Gwetabinji at Parliament.
Development is about positioning yourself as a prime destination for business rather than allowing opportunities to shift elsewhere, says Alan Senyondwa, the Director, Policy and Advocacy at the Uganda Manufacturers Association. As Tanzania makes heavy investments in infrastructure to boost trade, analysts are calling on the Ugandan government to reciprocate by upgrading key trade-enabling infrastructure, particularly along the Central Corridor. We have the details.
Uganda and Tanzania share a deep historical tie that date back to the pre-colonial era. In recent years, these ties have been rekindled through growing trade and investment partnerships. The Central Corridor is undergoing a major revival, driven by renewed investment in infrastructure such as roads, inland ports and railways. The ongoing transformation is expected to enhance trade efficiency and reduce logistical bottlenecks for businesses in Uganda and the broader East African region.
Tanzanians have realized that, and they are doing all they can to ensure that their route becomes more business-friendly, less costly. And what you are seeing is when they begin pushing for the SGR, if that SGR can now turn into a goods SGR, now you're going to have some reduction in time, some reduction in cost. Now, if you couple that with the EACOP, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, remember we're taking oil down and coming back with gas. That means the relationship between these two countries will exponentially grow, because now there's bilateral trade. There's actually exchange of goods and services between these two countries. I mean, it becomes more business friendly, and therefore it becomes easier to negotiate future deals. So whatever Tanzania is doing, it has realized that that is going to be its avenue. And remember, Tanzania doesn't focus on Uganda. It's looking at Uganda as the gateway to the Central African republics, the DRC, the Central African Republic, even on to South Sudan. So it is not a small or a mean achievement to say we have the strategy together with Uganda. Anyone who can bring Uganda into the picture as a distribution hub for this Central Africa region has a lot to play.
As a land-linked country, Uganda relies heavily on regional trade corridors to facilitate commerce and economic growth. One of the most significant developments is Tanzania's multi-billion-dollar investment in the standard gauge railway. This Central Corridor project is anticipated to be a game changer in regional logistics and transportation, significantly reducing cargo transit times and costs to traders.
SGR is very critical. Why? If I can reduce time between the ocean and the inland port at Mwanza, it reduces my cost of doing business. So any infrastructure development that brings goods in and out of the East African region is good for us. So we applaud them for building that SGR. Can we do then the ferries so they are able to move a little bit faster between Mwanza and Port Bell? Those things, if we can do them, then it will be A, less time, B, less costly. And anything that reduces cost of doing business is good for us.
While Tanzania accelerates infrastructure development, the business community in Uganda are urging the government of Uganda to match these efforts by modernizing inland ports and critical road networks that link Uganda to the Central Corridor.
Yes, indeed, Port Bell needs to be rehabilitated to create space for more operators to bring vessels here. For multimodal operations, you need to even have lifting equipment so that containers can be brought here. But at the same time, we are aware of other ports being developed, including Bukasa Port, which will be a multimodal port. So they should complement each other, as well as the Jinja Pier, to allow for seamless marine transport.
With these developments, our appeal to government of Uganda is to spend more resources on Port Bell, because Port Bell is a very good port, a lake port, and if resources are put in place for dragging, for expanding the area on which the vessels can dock, because we are going to have many more vessels. As I've mentioned, we have MV Pemba, now we are having MV Mpungu, and more of them are coming up because investors are getting an interest in it as a solution. And we traders and shippers, we are pushing for this. So government, we appeal that resources are allocated more on developing this Port Bell.
Without such improvements, Uganda risks falling behind in regional trade competitiveness.
In Port Bell, we can have a lot more infrastructure which will enable bigger vessels to come. So you understand, like there is immense potential for growth in across Lake Victoria, not just in Port Bell.
And as URC and under African Development Bank, we intend to procure other vessels to supplement what is on the lake. We are looking at having a multimodal, multi-purpose vessel for containerization, for containers. And this is in preparation for SGR, which will be coming to Mwanza very soon.
It's not about speaking about these things all the time, it's actually doing these things. So what the Tanzanians are doing, which we have to do very quickly, is the Tanzanians are very deliberate. If it's about infrastructure, they are going to develop the infrastructure. I don't know how you say it properly in Swahili, kama mbaya ni mbaya, you have to do it. And for them, they are very deliberate. For us, we are good at talking and putting the policies in place, but the actual doing is where we don't get it right.
The trade thrives on mutual benefit, an exchange of goods and services and ideas that leaves both parties better off.
Remember, business can't keep waiting for you as and when you feel like, so you'll come. No, some business will just simply walk away. And the challenge with the manufacturing sector or industrial sector, they won't announce they are walking away. They just simply walk away. And we need to start knowing that infrastructure development and the movement to ensure reduction in cost of doing business in Uganda goes down quite fast.
The ongoing revitalization of the Central Corridor presents a golden opportunity for Uganda to expand its trade footprint, but this will only be fully realized if the government takes deliberate action to improve infrastructure on its side.
Now, the World Bank has released its 24th edition of the Uganda Economic Update. This year's report focuses on investment in early childhood development for a transformed human capital. At the report dissemination in Kampala, the World Bank's Regional Director, Xiamiao Fan, urged government to leverage on the country's demographic dividend to foster rapid social and economic development. Take a look.
Government and other relevant stakeholders aligned to childhood development are urged to strategically invest for a resilient economy. Through investing in early childhood development, Uganda will harness the potential of its growing population and capitalize on its demographic dividend.
This report therefore outlines the strategic investment priorities that can catalyze human capital accumulation, drawing on international evidence and the successful experiences of peer countries. These priorities include expanding access to affordable child care and primary healthcare services in underserved areas in particular, scaling up successful parenting and violence prevention programs, and financing 1 year of pre-primary education.
I think the public sector rationalization initiative that the government is undertaking, I think it's an important one, if done well, as we discussed in the report, along with deepening reforms in public investment management. I want to add, in fact, here that as discussed earlier in earlier World Bank reports, I think efficiency gains in capital utilization could generate quite significant growth. In fact, our estimates suggest that between 0.2 to 0.5 percentage points of GDP growth annually can be generated with more efficient spending on capital.
Analysts concur that leveraging on the nation's youthful population, one of the youngest in the world, is crucial in achieving its social and economic goals. They also warn of dire consequences if the country takes for granted the element of human capital development.
Indeed, the report gives us an inkling into what we should have done before. It has now come out. The question is, what can we do for this generation which is in this bracket, and then what do you do for the generation which has left that bracket? Because we have to invest in our human resource. Apart from having minerals and fertile land and rainfall, the one major, or if not the most important resource a country can have is its human resource.
When we say, can we increase allocations to early childhood, where is the money? We need to answer that question first. I hear conversations with domestic resource mobilization, but when the pond is dry, it doesn't matter how well skilled you are in fishing.
Henry Musasizi, the Minister of State for Finance and Economic Development, confirmed that government is prioritizing investment and improved efficiencies in the education sector. He mentioned that the budget allocation for nutrition linked to child development grew by 75% in the 2024 to 25 fiscal year.
To Uganda shillings 9.19 billion compared to Uganda shillings 5.25 billion in financial year 2023-24. In addition, government is working to increase access to early childhood education, improve the quality of early learning environments, and ensure that children receive the care and support they need during their most critical years. As recognized in the update, the approval of the early childhood care and education policy in May 2024 by Cabinet is important for building foundation for quality education, as it encompasses critical phase in children's physical, mental, and psychosocial development for children aged between 0 to 8 years.
Economic scholars call for proper national budgeting and fiscal consolidation to manage public debts that tend to limit allocation of funds to areas like early childhood development. Mario Nawori, UBC.
In more news, Ugandan startups have been urged to prioritize domestic financing over foreign loans to scale their businesses sustainably. This call was made during the Ninja Acceleration Program engagement in Kampala, where 10 startups pitched their ideas with expectation of attracting funding from venture capitalists to expand their enterprises. We have the details.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, in partnership with Japan International Cooperation, JICA, have for the last 3 months engaged startups in Uganda, helping them scale operations and strengthen their regional influence.
Well, 10 startups who did a pitch to the audience is a very promising one. They were very close to the society. They know the society and how they can proceed. And I hope they will find some financial assistance to grow their own project.
The Commissioner at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Dr. Joshua Mutambi, emphasized the importance of fostering local financing options to build a resilient startup ecosystem.
As a government, also there are many financing schemes that have been put in place, and we encourage them that they should not only rely on donor funding, they can also borrow money that are very favorable terms to their businesses to grow. So we hope that
startups in Uganda, like many in emerging markets, heavily rely on grants and external funding, which, while useful, are not a sustainable model according to Ajay Ramasubramaniam, the founder of Hindsight Ventures. Ajay further outlined startup-friendly alternatives tailored to emerging markets.
Financing can always be hybrid. You have DFI money, you have local angel investors or local ultra-high net worth individuals contributing. You have the private sector contribution. You have governments kind of putting in money, the corporate treasury contributing. So financing always has to be hybrid or multi-pronged. But at the same time, entrepreneurs should learn that the business that they're building is not something which is going to be too dependent only on donor money. You also need to have a revenue stream which is booked, but at the same time build businesses which are sustainable, because that is what will attract venture capital money.
The Ninja Acceleration Program attracted interest from over 130 startups looking to scale their businesses. However, only 10 finalists had the opportunity to present their innovations to a local and global audience.
And we've been able to get incredible mentorship, and this has greatly helped us to refine the way we've been operating. I literally didn't have a company website, but now I have a presence, online presence. We are on LinkedIn. We have through www.hiltontraders.com, you can have a look at our work and also what to expect, to obviously be able to get more partnerships and also to be able to inspire more entrepreneurs like myself, because I mean, through such programs, it's when we can be able to get knowledge and inspire more and create more solutions that are being of a challenge to our economies.
Started off on the journey, of course, with AgriShare. We realized we needed to scale up faster, because currently we have over 79,000 farmers. But reaching even that one, but many millions of farmers are waiting for us. So as we are taking up this journey, we got an opportunity to join the JICA Ninja Accelerator. As you hear like the word accelerator, it's accelerating to another level. We've been exposed to investors, partners, but also other actors within the sector to ensure that we not only grow faster, but also grow while we are serving the farmers. And this one has enabled us to grow, has enabled us to serve more farmers. Now we have over 5,000 listings on the app. That's mean more farmland for renting, more tractors for hiring, more irrigation pumps for hiring, more equipment. But also, most importantly, is the partnerships and the linkages to the investors.
Marion Awori, Dennis Sigowa for UBC.
Uganda's insurance penetration has remained below 1% for nearly 2 decades. This stagnation persists despite economic growth, rising population, and increased sensitization on benefits of insurance. Industry players attribute the low uptake to limited disposable income among the majority of Ugandans. Dennis Sigowa reports.
Thank you very much.
We're working through digitization, working through agents, we're working through advertising, so that we make sure that the people, everybody can be reached with the product that we're talking about. And that way, we'll be able to make sure that insurance is not just for the rich. Insurance is for everybody, the least of the least.
So in this whole initiative of let me say, enhancing penetration, what is the role of the government in all this?
The role of the government in all this is, one, I think one of the things is to make sure that every person in the Republic has disposable income, to make sure that they can be able to save something, to take care of their future, to take care of the assets they have come up with, and so on. So all of us have to collaborate, because when the asset, when we lose life and so on, I think when we look at how it affects the government, it's far much more than if we try to make sure that this person has some income that can be able to sustain his family and something to spare to make sure that they can pay something for insurance.
Team, give it up for our ExCom members.
That has been all that we had for you in this week's episode. Thank you for staying with us. But before we leave, we'd like to advise you to stay hydrated and wear SPF in this scorching sun. I'm Maureen Babidia. See you next week.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. This weekend on UBC.
I call